Just because he was rejected for a loan by all the banks, this black man came up with a crazy idea. If he could buy that office building that housed 7 banks, those banks would become his tenants. At that point, who would dare to easily reject his loan applications? He took decisive action, coming to the building every night to estimate the occupancy rate by counting the number of lit windows. Combining this with other information gathered on site, he accurately calculated the building's annual rental income and actual profit, finally arriving at his own valuation. Then he found a capable real estate developer named George and laid out his acquisition plan in full. George was stunned upon hearing it. That was the most expensive building in Los Angeles, and the owner was white. In the 1950s America, white people generally looked down on black people, and trying to acquire their property in their territory was simply impossible. Charlie did not rush to refute. Instead, he calmly listed his reasons. The building housed 7 banks. Buying it would not only make it easy to obtain loans but also allow him to grasp financial and real estate trends firsthand, making his business smoother. More importantly, through his investigation, he found that although the building was in a prime location, there were still many offices long-term vacant. This meant the owner had limited rental income while also bearing heavy operating costs. Additionally, Charlie learned that the owner urgently needed funds for a new project, and this building was clearly a burden he was eager to shed. Finally, Charlie also presented the various data he had calculated, proving to George that this was absolutely a surefire deal. George was amazed. He realized that Charlie was not a dreamer but a practical strategist who advanced step by step. Partnering with such a person could not go wrong. But they now faced a practical problem. Because of their black identity, they did not even have a chance to negotiate. So they had to find a reliable white person to represent them. And Charlie already had someone in mind, Matthew, who had recently helped him renovate his house. Although he was just an ordinary worker, he had ambitions. Most importantly, he never discriminated against black people. However, when Matthew heard about this acquisition plan, he looked completely confused. He did not understand anything about loans, nor did he know how to buy a bank. Charlie patiently explained, they were not buying the banks, but the building where the banks were located. He also offered Matthew 10% of the shares and promised to teach him all the necessary knowledge. All they needed was for him to represent them. From the next day on, Charlie and George began to comprehensively train Matthew. They taught him financial knowledge, negotiation skills, and business models. They guided him on how to package himself, from playing golf to dining etiquette, leaving no detail overlooked. 3 months later, Matthew did not let them down. Although he could not fully understand some complex financial knowledge, he had an amazing memory and memorized everything he did not understand. Combined with his talent in golf, no one could tell he had once been a renovation worker. They crafted a flawless identity for him, a young oil tycoon from Texas who had inherited a large fortune. When contacting the building owner, Matthew won his attention with a beautiful opening shot in golf, smoothly securing the negotiation opportunity. Although Matthew was unsure inside, Charlie had already calculated all the data in advance and made him memorize it. At the negotiation table, no matter how the owner raised the price, Matthew always responded fluently, quoting data precise to the decimal point, even making the financial experts beside the owner feel inferior. Ultimately, the building originally priced at $2.4 million was successfully acquired for only $1.56 million. After buying the building, Charlie analyzed the root of the previous poor management. The problem lay in the leasing strategy. The original owner only wanted to rent to prestigious white large enterprises, but most of these companies had their own headquarters, so their leasing demand was limited. Charlie decisively turned to capable doctors, lawyers, and accountants. They had office needs and were eager to enhance their image and win client trust by moving into a high-end office building. With this single step, the building's vacancy problem was quickly resolved, and rental income steadily came in. But Charlie's ambition did not stop there. He used this building as the core, connecting resources such as banks, law firms, medical services, and consulting, empowering each other. As this system operated, the building's value soared. After that, the cooperation among the three became smoother, and Charlie's real estate kingdom expanded rapidly. He not only broke racial barriers in Los Angeles but also promoted community integration, allowing more black families to move into white neighborhoods. His achievements even attracted the attention of the vice president, and he received an audience. However, success did not satisfy him. Charlie returned to his hometown Texas with capital and ideals, determined to shake the deep-rooted prejudice there. But reality remained harsh. Racial discrimination in Texas had not changed at all. They could not obtain loans from white banks. Even the black shoe shiners at the bank entrance only served white customers. This scene deeply pained Charlie and evoked his past memories. Charlie had also been a shoe shiner, but from a young age, he was curious about finance and intentionally set up his stand at the bank entrance, so his customers were mostly business elites. Sometimes he deliberately shined shoes slowly just to hear more of the financial information revealed in their conversations. As soon as the customers left, he immediately wrote down what he had heard. Through accumulation over time, Charlie developed a dream of becoming a banker, but his father anxiously told him that his ideal was impossible to achieve. Because this was Texas in 1939, black people doing business would not be received by white people at all. Despite this, Charlie's eyes still shone with determination. 15 years later, he went to Los Angeles with his wife to pursue his dream. Although they could only temporarily stay in a relative's storage room, this place was relatively tolerant towards black people, so he decided to start a business here. With his sharp business acumen, he quickly discovered a business opportunity. The vacancy rate in white neighborhoods was high, while black neighborhoods were overcrowded, so he became a real estate agent, specifically buying houses in white neighborhoods and renting them to black families with good economic conditions. Soon he took a liking to a white apartment adjacent to the black neighborhood. Although it looked shabby, the location was ideal. When he found the owner to negotiate, the other party asked for $35,000, but Charlie only had $30,000 in savings. He proposed paying a down payment first and clearing the balance after the house was rented out, but the owner rejected his proposal. As Charlie was about to leave, he unintentionally saw a calendar on the owner's desk given by a bank manager. So he had a sudden idea and immediately went to that bank. Charlie went to the bank to apply for a loan, but he was treated coldly because of his race. With no other options, he had to wait patiently at the entrance for the manager to finish work. When he approached to speak, he falsely claimed he had been referred by the property owner, hoping to get a $5,000 loan to complete a deal, but he was still rejected. Just as Charlie felt disappointed, the property owner called him proactively. Not only was the owner not angry, but he was also impressed by Charlie's courage and intelligence. In the end, the owner not only agreed to sell the apartment to Charlie but also offered to guarantee his loan. So, Charlie finally bought his first property, but when he prepared to renovate the house, he faced strong opposition from an elderly female tenant. She told Charlie to inform the landlord that no matter how much he renovated, she would not pay more rent. However, when Charlie explained that he was the new owner, it completely angered the old woman. She yelled that there should not be people like you in a white building. Then she called the police, claiming a black man was impersonating the landlord. Charlie calmly showed the purchase contract. Even though the police checked repeatedly, they still found it hard to believe that this black man had really bought the building. In the end, they had nothing to say and could only leave. That night, when Charlie returned to the apartment, the old woman was guarding the door, trying to stop him from entering. Charlie smiled and told her he was the owner and would live there permanently. The old woman was stunned, and the next day, she packed her bags and moved out. She could not accept living in the same building as a black person. Sure enough, there was high demand for quality housing in the black community, and Charlie quickly paid off the remaining balance. The owner greatly admired Charlie's ability and proactively proposed a win-win cooperation. He would sign the contracts publicly, while Charlie operated behind the scenes, thus avoiding racial discrimination barriers. Charlie rarely met a white person who did not discriminate against him, so he gladly accepted, and they agreed to each hold 50% of the shares. They worked together wholeheartedly. The business grew larger and wealth accumulated rapidly. Charlie finally fulfilled his promise to his wife, moving from a storage room to the villa he had always dreamed of. However, fate played a trick. The partner owner suddenly passed away, and control of the company fell into his wife's hands. This woman was full of discrimination against black people. She not only wanted to drive Charlie out of the villa but also intended to buy his shares at a low price. Facing such unreasonable demands, Charlie refused to compromise. But the other side was aggressive, threatening to take him to court if he did not comply. His lawyer also reminded him that a black person suing a white person had little chance of winning, especially since he had been operating behind the scenes, making it hard to prove he was a partner. Unwilling to admit defeat, Charlie thought of the bank manager from before, but found that the manager had been hired by that woman as a high-paid financial advisor and was avoiding him. Standing in the bank lobby, Charlie saw that the building housed 7 banks. Suddenly, he had a crazy idea. He wanted to buy that building so that the banks could never refuse him again. Many years later, Charlie returned to his hometown in glory. His father, seeing his son's achievements, still advised him not to do business in Texas, because the rules here could not be changed by one person. But Charlie's eyes remained determined. He went to the bank entrance where he used to shine shoes, and looking at the shoe shine boy, he seemed to see his former self. Charlie immediately decided to buy that bank. He knew well that in the business world, whoever controls the bank controls the economic lifeline. If he owned his own bank, he could fund his massive real estate acquisition plans and no longer be constrained by others. However, when George found out, he strongly opposed it. He believed that Texas and Los Angeles were completely different. They could not possibly survive here, let alone change the rules. But Charlie insisted on moving forward, even preparing to complete the acquisition alone. Although George thought it was irrational, he ultimately chose to join him in the adventure. Perhaps a true friend is not one who only shows up in good times, but a close friend willing to go through hard times with you. This time, they repeated their old tactic, having Matthew act as the front man, while George posed as a driver to observe secretly. But the plan changed. The boss, to protect his son's position, was only willing to sell 80% of the equity. This meant that there was still a white person in the bank's upper management, and Charlie could not appear publicly. Even though limited, he still operated behind the scenes, providing loans to his black compatriots, quietly changing the financial landscape of his hometown. However, things were soon exposed. That day, the boss's son suddenly stopped Matthew and questioned why the number of loans had surged this month, increasing by 70 compared to before. Matthew panicked and claimed it was to expand business and increase shareholder profits. But the other side did not easily believe it. He secretly followed several borrowers and found that they were all black. At the same time, Matthew felt the situation was serious and urgently met with Charlie to discuss, but unexpectedly he was followed and photographed by the other side.